The world at large. Hi and welcome to the Untouched Stories. My name is Namathemba Msweli and I'm a third year BH student at Varsity College Westville. Welcome to Everything Boy Child, the channel that aims to empower our young boys, because if we don't, then who will? So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Oh my god. Welcome. I'm very excited. Hi. Welcome to the channel that aims to empower our young boys so that we have successful and morally inclined men in the future. So this video will be relatively longer than the rest of the videos that you're going to be receiving on this channel, because this is our first official video and it's going to be the navigation of everything that you're going to be receiving from this channel in terms of content. So firstly, I'd just like to say thank you to each and everyone. The turnout has been very amazing. We made it to 100 views in just 2 weeks, and we have also got a number of subscribers as well. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, and thank you again. Gonna work is I'm gonna work in 3 phases. So I'm gonna start with my introduction for the day, and then I'm gonna have a problem that we're gonna discuss. Like for example, today we're talking about mental health in young boys, so we're gonna have a problem that we're discussing, and then we're gonna have a thorough explanation of the problems within the bigger problem, and then on the next video we're going to be discussing solutions, because what I want is engagement from the public and from everyone else who is following the channel. I want us to discuss possible solutions and how you would attempt in helping someone who's going through the similar problem. So firstly, what I'd like to do is read a quote and give a shout out to the person who gave me the quote once I'm done. So here we go. So a very big shout out to Nokzola Mia, who's also a student at Varsity College. So the quote reads as follows: "It is very important to uplift young men. Strong, successful, and morally inclined men are becoming a dying group. In our quest for equality as women, we forget that equality means equal for both boys and girls. Many young men need someone to show them right from wrong. Therefore, it is now up to us as teachers, mothers, sisters, caregivers, and guardians to fill up the everyday growing gap." I am very inspired. I am truly inspired, and thank you for that. In today's business, many young adolescent boys are doing well. They perform well in their primary school education and they make healthy life choices. By the time they get to high school, they're ready for responsibility and they're ready for the challenges that the world throws them. For young men like this, opportunities are endless. But for some boys, the transition is very difficult. Some boys become victims of bullying, substance abuse, they become victims of crime. Even worse, some commit suicide before they even get to teenagehood. So substance abuse at a young age does not only lead to physical suffering, but also it causes a lot of mental problems, such as depression, such as a negative body image that can lead to body shaming. The list is very endless, but some boys are very hit very hard or negatively impacted by this to an extent that they drop out of school. And us as teachers and parents, as caregivers and guardians, we have a duty to make sure that the mental health of the young male child is well taken care of and that we keep them at school at all costs. The challenges that boys face in South Africa are very endless, and they've been going unnoticed for a very long time. They've been unnoticed by our media, by the public, and by our society. Recent studies have shown that there is a problem, it's not even a problem, it's a crisis within the boy society. There's a forever growing gap, the gap grows every day between the empowerment of girls and the empowerment of boys. But some people like to believe that there is only a specific group of boys that face problems. So what most people say, they say that it is South African boys that are African into like their ethnicity. They're African, and mostly it's that their parents neglect them, or they are victims of substance or alcohol abuse, and that some of the boys that experience problems like mental related problems are those with parents that are unemployed. The strength that makes boys likely to succeed and the challenges or the risk that they may face that may hinder them from reaching their goals is separated by a very thin line. But I like to believe that there is a positive impact of having a caring adult, like an adult that is going to care for you. It can be at home, it can be at school, or even in the community. This can help on the well-being of a young boy, and it plays a vital role, or it creates a concrete step that helps a boy to like live their life to their full potential, and it helps them better themselves in the long run. We get to today's question: what is mental health? Well, I believe that mental health comprises of three components, and that is the emotional, our psychological, and the social well-being. It affects how we feel, we think, and how we act. It also determines how we handle stress and how we relate to others, and it also influences the choices that we make in life. So mental health is important in every stage of life, during childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. Apparently, studies have shown that 4 in 10 children have mental health issues, and 60% of that 4 over 10 being young boys. And these mental issues can present themselves as depression, as anxiety, and as conduct disorder. And this is often like a direct response or a direct reflection of what that young boy may be experiencing in their life or in their surrounding environment. However, 70% of the young boys that experience mental health problems have never gotten like any proper intervention. So this is where I feel that us as teachers and guardians and parents can work hand in hand to assist these young boys to receive the proper care and intervention that they need for them to be better people in the future. The emotional well-being of a young boy is just as important as their physical health. Good mental health allows a young boy to develop resilience and to cope with whatever life throws at them, and it allows them to grow up as a well-rounded and healthy adult. Further, I'm going to be discussing the mental health issues that may present themselves in our young boys. So first, we've got depression, self-harm, we've got generalized anxiety disorder, we've got post-traumatic stress disorder, and we've got eating disorder. I'm not going to go into deep into depression, because the reason why is that it exists mostly in teenagehood, so it's unlikely to find an adolescent that actually experiences depression. But if they do, you must just know that depression is a mood disorder that may present themselves in persistent emotions of sadness or loss of interest in like a child's daily activities, like stuff that they used to find interesting, they're not going to find interesting anymore, or they're just not going to like the friends that they were hanging out with before. But I'm not going to get into deep into depression. So the next mental health disorder is self-harm. So this disorder or this mental health issue is very common with young people, young boys mainly. So they use it as a coping mechanism. Like they believe that if you experience or if you make yourself experience more pain than you're already experiencing, it makes you feel better. So they may harm themselves through cutting themselves, through burning themselves. For example, some even wish to take their whole life. It's like a really terrible mental health disorder. And then we've got the generalized anxiety disorder, and this causes like our young boys to become extremely worried. Like they're worried about life, they're worried about responsibilities, they're worried about like timekeeping, and it gets to a point whereby it becomes a disorder. Like they become extremely worried about the unknown. So very young children experience this, mainly our boys. They may experience it because maybe they moved away from a school, or maybe they've been separated from their loved one, or the list is very endless of why they might experience anxiety disorder, but it's just them being worried of the unknown. Then moving to the next is our post-traumatic stress disorder. This follows like physical abuse or sexual abuse, or a young boy experiencing something like that is extremely scary or extremely frightening for them, and it scars them for life because it traumatizes them. It may be them being a victim of violence or them being a victim of severe bullying. This is one disorder that I will further focus on as the channel progresses on its content. Then the next disorder that we're going to focus on is the eating disorder, and this is the disorder I want to mainly focus on today because it's the cause of a vast majority of things. It's what actually leads to bullying, body shaming, and we tend to forget that bullying and body shaming does not only exist in the girl child society, it also exists in the boy child society, and it usually starts on the adolescent stage when girls and boys see one another as opponents, and they see one another as different people. But eating disorders are more commonly in boys. So the number of young boys who usually experience eating disorders the number is very small, but they may experience disorders such as anorexia or bulimia. There are serious consequences to these disorders, and it's not only physical but it's mental as well, so it usually requires a very serious intervention. So what I believe is that most things that happen to young boys are not what necessarily cause their mental health issues, but rather I think it's the constant exposure to that kind of environment or to that kind of situation that actually causes the mental health issue. Like the constant exposure to trauma is what causes their mental health issues, and it makes them like more vulnerable. So what I have to say is that changes can also trigger like mental health issues or misconduct or disruptive disorders in the classroom. Like changes can trigger these sorts of behaviors. For example, if a child moves like to a new place or to a new school, or they may experience like a birth of a new sibling, for example, children may start school feeling excited about making new friends and experiencing new activities in terms of sports. But if the response that they expected is not what they get in return, they may experience all the mental health issues that I have above mentioned. Like adolescents often experience like what can I say, emotional turmoil. It's like a war, but within the person, within that young boy child. And this is because they are not too young for them to do things by themselves, but they're not old enough to do things for themselves. So they're stuck in the middle of being a young one and but not yet being a responsible adult. So it is important that we support young boys as they grow, and we accept them, or as like we accept them for who they really are. So some young boys find it hard to make the transition to the adolescent stage, and they may end up experimenting with alcohol and with drugs and with different other substances that may affect their health. And it lies up to us as teachers, as parents, and as guardians to make sure that we make the transition as smooth as it can possibly be. So thank you very much for tuning into my video today. So on my next video, I'll be discussing factors that contribute to mental health issues in young boys. I'll be having a discussion on having physical illnesses and severe bullying or physical or sexual abuse. We'll be talking about experiencing discrimination, like based on race, on sexuality, and on religion. And then we'll also be touching on having educational difficulties and the way of coping with the loss of a loved one in a young boy child. So thank you very much for tuning in today. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and that you like and you leave a comment. And thank you very much.